Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. You know, Amanda, I think you described today's movie perfectly when you called it the OG Babygirl. We were talking about Jonathan Glazer's Birth.
You know that I loved Sean. You know so much. It's taken me this long, and I can't get him out of my system. I can't. Too many memories. I understand that this is gonna sound crazy. I've met somebody who seems to be Sean.
Am I to understand that 10-year-old boy told you he was your late husband, Sean?
He said, "It's me, Sean. What am I supposed to think?"
He's back.
What do you want?
You'll be making a big mistake if you marry Joseph.
There's a boy this tall who wants to marry my fiance.
You're hurting me. Don't bother me again.
From now on, we're gonna tell the truth.
What do you want to know?
How did Sean meet Anna?
We met at the beach. We got married 30 times in 30 days.
How do you know what you know?
I'm Sean.
You can't go around saying you're somebody you're not. What are you doing?
I'm looking at my wife.
This is insane. I mean, I don't want to fall in love again with Sean, and that's what's happening.
You can think whatever you want. Everybody can think what they want. I'm who I say I am.
Stay away. Stay away.
You ask Anna who she loves more, me or Joseph. Go ahead. Go ask her.
Released in 2004, Birth was directed by Jonathan Glazer, who co-wrote the script with Jean-Claude Carrière and Milo Addica. It stars Nicole Kidman as Anna, a widow who is about to remarry, Danny Huston as Joseph, her fiance, and Cameron Bright as Sean, a 10-year-old boy who claims to be Anna's dead husband reincarnated. This is the story of a woman who begins to believe that this 10-year-old boy is actually her husband reincarnated. And the movie also features Anne Heche, return appearance from Anne Heche,
Yes.
Lauren Bacall, Peter Stormare, Kara Seymour, and Buffalo Bill himself, Ted Levine.
Oh, really?
He's the boy's dad.
Oh, that's so funny. When did Silence of the Lambs come out? Like a couple years before?
That was probably 94. That was probably 10 years before this.
Oh, wow. I feel like he looks so much older in this movie, but I guess it's just my perception.
He's also not wearing women's makeup.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it's his own skin. It's his own
Yeah.
skin.
Right, right. Yeah. And
That's
he
why he
said
had to put on other people's skin because he looked so
yeah.
old.
And, maybe he wasn't moisturizing. He was too busy telling other people to moisturize.
He needs to put the lotion on his own skin.
You should have been putting that retinol on your skin, Buffalo
Yes.
Bill.
His
Yeah.
hyaluronic acid. That's how I
Yeah.
stay so young. So critics and audiences agree they hate this movie. It, I was actually surprised. I thought this movie was a critical hit and like an
Mhm.
audience
Yeah.
dud, but it was both dud. 40% critical tomato and
Really?
43% popcorn bucket.
Wow, I'm shocked.
Hmm.
Especially because, I didn't look, too much into this movie, but I did look up a little bit about Jonathan Glazer after watching this, and I feel like well, especially now with, the Zone of Interest that just came out, I feel like everything I read about him was talking about, like, how all of his movies were of high acclaim, like, that's the impression I got from most of the articles I read about him. So that's really shocking. I feel like it's maybe people are kind of, like, retrospectively, like, stepping, you know, back on their opinions. I mean, obviously,
Hmm.
people who are writing the articles are probably not the same ones who gave the reviews back in
Mm.
2004, but, like, I feel like there's sort of this, like, retrospective because 'cause they're like, "Oh, shit, this guy is, like, serious, like, he's a serious filmmaker." Um, so that's really funny, though, I didn't expect it to be that low.
People have a really hard time getting past Nicole Kidman being in the tub with the boy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is a movie where it's like when I told, like, people that this is what I watched for the podcast, like, I told my sister-in-law, and I told her the premise, and her first instinct was to go, "Ugh," which, like, fair,
Mhm.
but it's and even me, like, I think I gave this movie, like, 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, and it is because there is still that mental hurdle that it is hard to jump over,
Mhm.
um, but it's one of those movies you have to see to understand, like, I don't wanna sound, like, too pretentious, but, like, you have to see it to understand the concept,
You
like,
do.
you do though, yeah, yeah, it's on paper, it does not describe itself well.
It's one thing to say Nicole Kidman takes a bath with a 10-year-old boy,
Yes.
and it's another thing to see the scene and realize it's
Mhm.
not sexual in any way, and
Right.
their relationship isn't even sexual. It's a metaphor for grief.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Roger Ebert also gave it 3.5 stars,
Oh,
out of
hello.
4, so a little
Oh,
higher
okay.
when you think about the
Ah,
scale. So he gave it a good review,
yeah.
and he did compare it to Rosemary's Baby,
Mm,
with the apartment, location and Nicole Kidman's Mia Farrow haircut. She has the pixie
of
cut.
course. Yes.
He says Birth is less sensational and more ominous, and also more intriguing because instead of going for quick thrills, it explores what might really happen if a 10-year-old turned up and said what Sean says. Because it's
Yeah.
about adults who act like adults who are skeptical and wary. And it's all the more effective because of Cameron Bright as the uninflected and non-cute Sean, which I thought was funny. Um,
Wow.
and then he throws his whole opinion out the window when he says, like M. Night Shyamalan's best work. Like, Roger!
To be fair, this is 2004, like, he hadn't
Still, we had
completely.
Unbreakable by this point,
Yeah, that's
and maybe
true.
Signs, which were not good.
Yes, that is true, that is true.
But he says Birth works less with action than with implication.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I found
that's
a
I was gonna say, like, I the opening line of, "It's not so much sensational as it is ominous," like, that would be I feel like I'm gonna steal that line if I need to sell this movie to someone. They're gonna go, "Ugh," and I'm gonna go, "It's not sensationalized, it's ominous."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exploitative, and
Mhm.
what really stood out to me in this was it's about adults who act like adults. We don't
Mm.
get movies like this, and when we
Mhm.
talk about our personal viewing experiences, I would like to revisit that.
Mhm. Perfect.
But first, I'll share 2 Rotten Tomatoes reviews. Someone named Beep Mo on Rotten Tomatoes says this movie is delicate and strange, and it
Mm.
is not for everyone. This film is expertly crafted and weirdly haunting. I can't believe how criminally underrated it is. 5
Mm.
stars.
Alright, beep.
Caroline B writes, this movie was so whack and just weird. I get the whole reincarnation thing, but why did they have to use a kid? Spoiler alert, especially the fact that at the end he was some random kid, made it weirder than it already was. Half a star.
Okay, Karen. I feel like she was flitting in and out of the movie. That's very funny.
Yeah, so I thought the the contrast is really
Yeah.
interesting. And
Wow,
most people are on the Caroline train that
that
this
is
movie is
true.
whack.
It's whack.
That's what people were saying in 2004.
That
Um,
is true.
but yeah, people act like Nicole Kidman is just like giving unsimulated fellatio to a 10-year-old like on camera.
Yes.
Like the way people react to this is insane to me.
Right.
So, this was your first time watching it though, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, it was still hard for me to, I guess, wrap my head around. I have a lot of questions about it. Um, and I actually have a question that I would love to pose, but I'll kind of wait till the end. Um, I will say I think it helped that I had seen the Zone of Interest
Mhm.
beforehand because I think if I hadn't and I hadn't already been familiar with Jonathan Glazer's filming style and especially the sound design and the music that plays in the background, it's really strange and unsettling.
Mhm.
And that's why, like, I am almost surprised that, again, like, I don't want to sound like a pretentious asshole, but I think people miss the point because
Mhm.
I think the soundtrack adds so much to it. Like, it is so ominous. It it doesn't feel. I think this movie could have gone into like a very like sexual psychological thriller kind of way, and it
Mhm.
didn't. It stayed on that, like character study, ominous, creepy sort of side. Um, like this movie is not single white female. This movie is I don't even know what it is. So I think it helped that like I kind of, not necessarily was expecting it, but like when certain aspects came up, it wasn't totally outlandish to me. Um, I think what one of the things I struggled with was keeping track of the characters, surprisingly. Um,
Yes.
they're
And their relationships.
in their relationships, that's what it was more so. Like I kept getting confused about how the boys' parents were involved in any way, and they kind of weren't. They were very, like, odd characters and of themselves.
Mhm.
I mean, we could talk about it, how they let their son live with this woman for, like, I think a couple of weeks or something. It's very bizarre.
Yep.
And then the Anne Heche character, because the Anne Heche character is the other woman, right?
She ends up
Yes.
being the other woman. Yes, her
Yes.
name was I forgot.
Okay.
Clara. Clara.
Clara, yes. Um, so that was, I think, just like on a personal note for me, that made it a little bit difficult to watch. But yeah, like I overall really liked this movie. Like I did not walk away from this movie feeling like, ooh,
Mhm.
like that initial reaction. Yeah.
I had seen this movie before. Not
Hmm.
maybe like 2008, maybe
Okay.
2007 I watched it. And so almost 20 years ago. I was 20 years younger. I was really impressed with the filmmaking and with Nicole Kidman. I was really into
Hmm.
Nicole Kidman at the time.
Yeah.
But due to my age and my lack of life experience, I think a lot of it I just didn't quite get, for lack of a better
Mm,
word. And when I watched it this time, I think I cried for like
wow.
tw 20 minutes. This movie devastated me. This movie
Wow.
wrecked me in a way that I was not expecting at all. Like, I felt, like, hollowed out by the end of this movie.
Really?
Yeah, it really upset me.
Wow.
Just
Um,
the sheer sadness of it.
yeah.
Because one of the details that I had forgotten was the reason why Sean, the boy, pretends, quote, I'm putting air quotes around it, pretends to be Sean the man. And I had completely forgotten that he really thought he was Sean.
Yeah.
And that just added this whole sadness of it to me, and this him experiencing this kind of very strange heartbreak as a child. And I had also forgotten the Anne Heche character being the love affair,
Mm,
and just Nicole Kidman being unable to get over the death of this man who never loved her.
yeah.
Also, just I don't know, it really upset me in like a
So
good cathartic movie way.
yes. Actually, that's really interesting because I was gonna bring it up later, but I guess I'll bring it up now because it kind of ties into what you just said. The question I had, um, it's sort of like I don't know, like you seem like you've thought about it more, so maybe you will have an answer. Um, but I guess I sort of questioned I at the end of the movie, I questioned Sean's motivations in the sense of, like, do you think he really felt love? Do you think it was because he was so because he obviously didn't have a great relationship with his parents? Do you think it was
Mhm.
more like a replacement for that? Like, I guess
That's so
I
interesting, yeah.
I do not and I wouldn't say this is a knock against the movie. I think if anything, it's actually probably a good thing because it's kind of beyond my comprehension. Like, I do not understand his psychology.
Mhm.
Um, maybe it's a good thing I don't understand the psychology of a seven-year-old boy.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that was one of the things I couldn't stop thinking about after the movie is, like, what exactly did sort of drive him to do this?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I thought about that a lot as well. There's
Yeah.
a segment of people on Reddit who
Mm.
think he may have actually been Sean reincarnated, and
Oh.
one of the reasons they believe that is because the movie doesn't explain how he knew where Sean died.
Oh, I think I, like, kind of missed that or, like
Me too.
yeah.
And so, because he has Nicole Kidman meet him where Sean died, and that's a big part of the reason why she starts to suspect that this is
Oh,
true. Because he dies under that overpass in Central Park, and
yeah.
that's where Sean meets her. But it's unclear how he knew that. But then other people on Reddit who were very, very vehemently opposed to the idea that he could possibly be Sean reincarnated say
Yeah.
that he was this kind of weird loner boy that hung around the hotel a lot, and he could have easily read it in the newspaper or heard
Mhm.
someone talk about it.
Yeah, picked it up
Um,
in conversation.
right. And I think part of it being this, he's kind of this odd latchkey kid, it seems. He's
Mm,
left alone a lot, and his mom does that odd role play with him where he's like a pirate or something at
yeah,
before bedtime, and he kind of lives in this fantasy world, and whatever compels him to follow the Anne H character, and then he digs up those letters that are his name as well. He
right.
feels some sort of kinship with it,
Yeah,
and I think he falls in love with her because those are her letters to Sean,
yeah.
and she does love Sean, and he's getting this glimpse of what adult love
Mm,
feels like, because his dad's Buffalo Bill, so his dad's not giving him any affection,
yeah.
and his mom is, even though he's 10 and still a child, she's still almost like babying him.
Mm,
She's both babying him and leaving him to his own devices at the same
yes.
time, which is a volatile combination, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I forget, did he know, Nicole Kidman's character before he found the letters?
I'm assuming he must have seen her because he
Yeah.
hung out in the lobby of her building a lot because his dad was a piano
Piano?
teacher? Yeah,
Yeah,
and would just
yeah,
leave him there.
right. Which also, like, I guess kind of side note to that, if the reasoning had just been that Nicole Kidman looks amazing, I would have believed that because she looks so good in this movie. She's so beautiful. I
She's
love her
so
little
beautiful in this
haircut.
movie.
Yeah.
I think this is one of her greatest performances because it's
Yes.
so weird. It's
Yes.
so nuanced.
Mhm.
It's, again, so deeply, deeply sad, and she
Yeah.
doesn't show that until the very end when she breaks down at her wedding, which makes it
Yes.
even sadder for
Right.
for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a deeply sad movie.
So yeah, if you wanna be depressed for hours, watch this
Yes.
movie, and sometimes I
Yeah.
do. So,
Yeah. Right.
um but it does fit in. You mentioned Jonathan Glazer earlier, our director. It does really fit in with his aesthetic. This was his 3rd film. I have
Mhm.
not seen his first film, Sexy Beast, which is
Mm.
about, I can't think of his name, bald guy, but he's a gangster. I haven't seen it.
Mhm.
And then there's Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson as an alien,
Yeah.
and Zone of Interest about the Nazis who are in charge of the concentration camp.
Right.
And this movie has those long shots,
Yes.
slow zooms,
Yes.
lots of scenes with no dialogue,
Hmm.
lots of close-ups.
Hmm. Yes.
And we're going to talk about this another time. We're going to talk about Nosferatu. But Nosferatu also has a lot of those things and does them poorly.
Yes.
And I just thought I really want to put these movies side by side and understand
Mhm.
why this movie is so compelling. And to me,
Yes.
that movie is so flat.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big part of it is Nicole Kidman's performance because like one of the most iconic scenes of this movie, like the one that I kept seeing get brought up, sorry, just in general talking about Jonathan Glazer is the scene of is she watching a movie or a play or something?
It's an opera.
An opera, and the way her face is lit and the camera is zooming in on her. I mean, it has to be like a minute or something scene. Like it's uncomfortably long, but you just see like the glimmer in her eyes and her expression isn't changing. And so I think as the viewer, you're just sort of reading her expression. Like it's just so phenomenal. And I think it
Hmm.
is her performance. I think it's the lighting. I think that she is the center of attention. I think, problem with Nosferatu is that it's so fucking dark.
Hmm.
Like literally. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And I love like the scenery in this movie. Obviously we'll talk about it, but the apartment building, it's really like when I think about it, it's not, but it feels very like candlelit warm. Like I don't think
Hmm.
it's lit by candles, but it feels that way. The outdoor like hands of it, like I don't mind looking at these scenes for a
Hmm.
long time because they're beautiful.
It's so well composed. And I like that you brought up the music.
Mhm.
I don't have a good music vocabulary, and oftentimes I don't think about the music, but especially in that scene where she's watching the opera, it's an opera, it's tragedy
Yes.
magnified, and the music is there's a word for it where the music
Mm.
is actually in the movie and not just like a soundtrack, like the characters are hearing it. And so
Yes.
and that happens a few times in this movie because there's a scene
Yeah.
where they have the string quartet in their apartment,
Hmm.
but that really enriches it too, this moving score.
Yes. Yeah. I love the way that Jonathan Glazer uses sound. Like, because again, I don't have a great vocabulary for it, but it's very um it's like the only way I can like think of it is like it's like very baritone. So it like
Mm.
kind of like shakes you a little. It's
Hmm.
it's really good. And again, like I think it adds so much to this movie specifically because it really changes the tone.
It does for sure.
Mhm.
And the score was done by Alexander Desplat,
Mhm.
and he has received two Oscars.
Really?
He received an Oscar for Grand Budapest Hotel
Okay.
and Shape of Water, the fish
Your
fucking
favorite
movie.
movie?
Yes, gotta fuck that fish. I always say, do you know who had it really hard in the 60s? Black people, gay people, and women who wanted to fuck a fish. They had
White
it
women who
so hard.
white women who had an amphibian king.
But he works with Wes Anderson a lot now, this composer, which
Interesting.
is crazy to me because I consider Wes Anderson almost like diametric opposite to Jonathan
It is.
Glazer.
Like, especially the music in it, it feels very like plucky and like like very
Hmm.
like folksy and happy. And Jonathan
Hmm.
Glazer's, is like, oh, so
Yes.
funny. What a talented composer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alexander Desplat.
Oh, new favorite. Love this guy.
Love him. And we also have, of course, Nicole Kidman, who we've talked about, and
Mhm.
she's been on the podcast before. We talked
She's
about the
been
others. And I was thinking a lot about the others while watching this actually, because I wonder if because the others was before this, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if the others helped get her cast in this because the others also has this character who so passionately believes in something that isn't true
Yeah. Relating to
and
her husband too.
and is skeptical of
Yes.
ghosts.
Right.
Um Yeah, and I wonder if that helped her get this part.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a very interesting, like, double feature.
Mhm.
Like, y'all should go back and listen to that episode right now and then come
Yes, that's a
to
good one.
here because yeah, wow, interesting.
And then there are also a lot of Lars von Trier players
Mm,
in this movie. Nicole Kidman has worked with Lars von Trier. So
mhm,
did the mom, Cara Seymour. She's been in a couple of Lars von Trier movies. And Peter Stormare, the best friend, is in a lot of Lars von Trier movies.
hmm.
And Lauren Bacall was in Lars von Trier movies.
Was she really?
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
She's in Dogville with Peter Stormare and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, that's right, that's right,
Hmm.
yeah. Huh.
Lauren Bacall. I don't think I'll ever get to talk about Lauren Bacall again, so I have to make
Yeah,
this a Lauren Bacall podcast for a moment.
perfect.
Lauren Bacall, I love Humphrey Bogart movies,
Mhm,
and I love Lauren Bacall. If you ever want to watch a good old movie, put on Key Largo with Lauren
mhm.
Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. That one is great. It also stars Edward G. Robinson, and you may think you don't know Edward G. Robinson, but you do because they made him a cartoon in the Bugs Bunny ones. He'd be the one like, "Oh yeah, see, I'm gonna shoot you with this gun, see." Like that was an Edward G. Robinson parody character. So
Right,
you've seen him even if you don't know who he is. And Key
love it.
Largo is almost like a closed room mystery, but without really a mystery. Everybody gets trapped during a hurricane in this house,
Mm,
and it's really, really good. But Lauren Bacall is so fucking funny in this movie
yeah,
when because she never believes this boy is
no.
Sean.
She is, like, stone cold in this movie.
When she says they're feeding him cake, she goes, "How's Mr. Reincarnation enjoying his cake?" And then the best part,
Savage.
Nicole Kidman is at this point where she's about to break, and her sister has just had the baby, and Lauren
Mhm.
Bacall says, "Maybe that's Sean." that
Oh,
that like killed me.
she's so good.
She's
She's
so
so good.
great. And then
Yeah,
but it also like not only is it funny, but it's not a jokey line. It's just like dry
right.
and funny. But it also like gives you this insight into the Nicole Kidman character. She has this frosty mother and this kind of
Mhm.
controlling sister. You can understand how she's kind of the hopeless romantic one of the family.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point.
I just think everything about this movie is really expertly crafted.
Mm,
But let's talk about Gothic elements.
okay.
Gothic films have four elements: girl, guy, house, haunt. Do you agree that Anna is our girl?
Is that Nicole Kidman?
Nicole Kidman, yes.
Yes, then of course, yes.
I don't have much to say about Anna that we haven't already said, but I do
Mhm.
want to say that I realize that Nicole Kidman can never play a poor person. She just
Yeah,
looks she just looks rich. Like if
she
you
does.
dirtied up Nicole Kidman and made her a little matchstick girl, I would be like, um, is she playing a character who's studying for a part? Is she playing a rich
Right.
woman pretending to be poor? Like she's just so sophisticated looking. She
She
always has
really
to be
is.
just filthy rich.
Yes, that's why they put her in that sequin suit for the AMC commercials.
Yes.
She is so that's so funny. I've, like have you ever heard the term of an iPhone face?
No.
So basically, it's this term that I've been seeing on the internet where it's like there are certain actors and actresses who can't play in period movies because they have an iPhone face. And what they mean is like that face is definitely seen an iPhone. So like a lot of people will bring up like Zendaya, she's an amazing actress, but she could never do like a period piece. She has an iPhone face. Like her face is
Yeah.
like has seen an iPhone. And I think that like there should be a term for like Nicole Kidman where it's like bougie face. Like, she could never play a poor person because she has a bougie
Yeah.
face.
You
And
know she does not know how to use her phone very well.
no. Like, but you love her for it, you know?
It's
Like,
cute.
it's not annoying. It's like, "Oh, he's
Sh-
amazing."
She's the library patron who doesn't know how to use her phone,
Right.
but will let you help her
Exactly. Exactly. And,
and
like,
not
doesn't
expect you to do it yourself. Do it for her.
exactly. Right. But, like, she also doesn't really need to know because this is probably the only time she's gonna step through the library.
You'll never see her again.
Never see her again. But she acts
Mhm.
really interested. She'll be like, "Oh, that's how you print from your phone. Oh, it's so neat that you can do that." And then she'll go home and the maintenance man will have fixed her $6,000 printer and you'll never see her again.
Mhm.
But, like,
And
I
she'll
still love
she'll
her.
say, "I love libraries,"
I love libraries. And she
as
probably
her,
has
like,
gone.
Barnes& and Noble branded, gold MasterCard falls out of her wallet.
Yeah, and she's probably gone to, like, galas, though, to, like, support libraries. Like,
Right?
yeah.
That are definitely not held at a library.
No, 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 no. They're at, like, the Ritz.
Yes. But I say all this, it full compliment. Like,
Fully.
eat the rich, but spare Nicole Kidman. Like, I
Exactly.
I love her
She
so
she can be
much.
a rich mother overlord. I love the fact that she's married to Keith Urban. Keith Urban is such an enigma to me. I could do a whole episode talking about Keith Urban. What is this man? He's Australian. He still has the the Rachel haircut with big chunky highlights in our year, the Lord of 2025. Like, but he's a country singer, but he does like
He
this like
does.
pop country, but he's really kind of effortlessly cool too. And the fact that they're married together, it like makes no sense. They're so beautiful and hot. I don't even care. I I we need to find a movie that has Keith Urban in it because I want to talk about him for 6 years. He he's a wild enigma to me.
I wonder if he's ever been, like, a
I don't think he's
cameo in
done
a
any
movie.
acting.
He knows how to stay in his lane, I think.
I think so too, and I think he really lets Nicole do a lot of the shining.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I love them. I love them. That is our mom and dad, and they
Oh,
will be
that would be
cool soon.
so nice. Yes. I
They will
would
be soon.
never if I was Nicole Kidman's son, I would never brand her a SP and never talk to her again because of my Scientology upbringing.
Yes. Are they Scientologists?
So she was with Tom Cruise and they
Right.
had I think
Right.
their children were adopted, not that it matters, but I
Yes.
think they had adopted children together. She basically got to the part of Scientology where they told her about aliens, and
Mm.
she was like, "Oh, I gotta go let my kangaroo out," and then, like, fled back to Australia. Like, she just ran away.
Yes.
But Tom Cruise obviously stayed in it, and I don't think their children talked to her. Because
Oh. Oh, no.
Scientology branded her an SP, which is a
Right.
suppressive person,
Yes.
like Hitler
Oh my god.
or Leah Remini.
Well, Nicole, if you're sad and uh, you don't wanna take in a 10-year-old boy who says that he's your reincarnated husband, you can adopt me. I would be
Mhm.
more than happy to be your child.
Same.
Ugh, adopt us.
She's a star, and
Mhm.
Anna's a great character.
Yes,
What
I know, yeah, we really got away from Anna as the character, but,
we said a
you
lot
know,
about her already. I wanted to
yes.
share I ended up purchasing the digital version of this movie
Mm.
because I watched it on DVD, and then I wanted to go back and watch a certain scene that I'll get to, and I think I bought it on Google Play Movies or
Oh,
something.
okay.
But it had this blurb that described her as a delicate young widow who is on the verge of a new life when a solemn little boy appears, claiming to be the reincarnation of her dead husband. I loved that description.
That's great. They nailed it.
And what I thought was interesting about her too is that so many people in this movie treat her as if she's the one having an affair, even though it's a 10-year-old boy that has showed up and done this.
Right.
And the irony that her husband was the one having the affair.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And one more thing I want to share about her is that her non-apology at the end is fucking iconic.
How did it, like, go again?
What happened to me wasn't my fault, and I can't be held accountable for it.
Oh, iconic. How has not every politician used that?
It's brilliant, and
That
he
is so good.
accepts it. Her fiancé accepts it and takes her
Yes.
back.
Yes. I mean, her fiance is a huge simp for her. I mean, I think he even says at the beginning that he's like he asked her to marry him like multiple times, and then he asked her again and she said, "Maybe." And then he like asked her again and she finally said yes. Um, so you have to wonder like how much she even really loves him, she wants to get married to him, or she's just sort of like trying to force herself to move on. Um, and yeah, he is definitely obsessed with her, which again, I cannot blame him. She looks amazing. She's an amazing woman.
He is the romantic rival of the
Mm,
movie, our bonus
yes.
gothic, Joseph.
Hmm.
And he is such a fascinating character to me. I was obsessed with him on this watch because this man, this man, this poor, sorry to this man, sorry to
Yeah.
this man. Like, I, he also was that way when trying to get her to date him. He talks about how he had to ask her out for like
Mm,
a year. She is just reluctant to be with him.
wow.
He has to learn. He learns that she will dump him for the ghost of her dead husband in a heartbeat,
Yes.
and he has to be jealous of a 10-year-old boy.
I don't know if you're gonna bring up this scene, and I guess I could probably wait till like the end to talk about like, my favorite scenes. The scene where he goes after the boy to kick his ass is so fucking good. So fucking good.
That's why I bought the movie digitally, so I can watch that scene whenever I want.
Dude, I thought that that might have been the scene you were gonna say because it's not only is it like kind of hilarious, but it's really good. It's you can tell it's just the absolute breaking point. Like what causes a man to leap over like tables and chairs to
And a
like
Panano.
and a banana to like physically like clobber a 10-year-old boy. Like it's a wild scene.
That scene makes me want to laugh and cry at the same
Yes.
time, which is my
Yeah.
favorite feeling in any movie. And it happens because Sean is kicking his chair while these
Yes.
bougie rich folks are having a string quartet perform for them in their own living room.
Right.
That this and this poor boy, like poor as in financially poor, is there
Yes.
bored out of his mind watching them. And so you
Yeah.
really don't know if he's kicking it to antagonize him or because he's bored as fuck.
Right.
And yeah, he flips out and like yeah, try physically attacks him, gets restrained by the other men,
Yes.
and when the kid runs away, he fakes being okay, the adult,
Yep.
pushes the Panano to block the door, vaults over it,
Yes.
and then drags the kid in and spanks the shit out of him.
Yes. This was kind of the scene I was thinking of when I talked about how much I love the setting and like how things look candlelit because in my brain I just picture the scene. I can see vividly the part where he jumps over the piano and the the apartment they're in, it has like this I might be kind of remembering it wrong, but I'm picturing it as like this gilded gold wall with all of these like borders and like, like very like Renaissance-y. So to me, it looks like this gorgeous Renaissance painting of like, you know, friggin' David reaching for God. It's insane. I love it though.
And the best part, the cherry on this shit Sunday, is when they restrain him again, and all he can say is, "He kicked my chair."
Like he's just at his wit's end.
Uh, yeah, I was riveted with him. There's a scene early on too where like that he comes out of the elevator and he sees Sean, who is a 10-year-old boy with a Dragon Ball Z backpack, and and he like squares himself up in front of
Yes.
him.
Yeah. I mean, he is so challenged by this boy.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it. Like, I I don't know if anyone ever has, but, like, someone needs to, like, do a psychological study on this movie because it's really interesting.
That's what I really like about it is the psychology of this
Mhm,
film. It's really, really fascinating.
mhm.
And our other romantic rival is the Clara character, played
Yes.
by Anne Heche, who is
Mhm.
gorgeous in this movie as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And she was from the Psycho remake.
Yes.
I for some reason thought her name was Grace, and
Mm,
I think as Clara and Clarity and like Grace struck me as being
mm.
somewhat ironic, maybe. But also Nicole Kidman's character in Dogville is Grace, so I think those wires were crossed.
Uh,
But
yeah.
that mistake sent me down this little rabbit hole of looking up name meanings.
Mm.
And the name Anna means grace,
Oh,
which I found I was like, "Oh, how
that's funny.
interesting."
Yeah,
And then the name Sean also means grace. It means God is gracious.
interesting.
So those name meanings are really fascinating and subtle as well.
Right. I mean, that's really interesting because, well, you never really meet Sean, like the real adult Sean.
Mhm.
So it makes you wonder if maybe they were compatible. Like, there's so many that's the other thing about this movie is there's so many questions about their marriage and their relationship afterwards that you just don't get because
Mhm.
you're hearing it from the two perspectives of the women in his life. Um, so that's really interesting. Does Clara, did you happen to see, did that have any interesting meaning?
Let me see. You know what? That's so funny you asked because I just assumed it meant clarity, but it could mean
Yeah.
something else entirely. Um, clear and bright.
Ah, okay. Which I mean, she gives a clarity to the
She shines
situation.
the light on the situation, and then her Nicole Kidman's new fiance is Joseph, who is like the cuck. You know, like
That's true.
Mary gave birth to the Son of God, and he might not have even slept with her.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
So the names are really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so I think our guy is kind of like the dead Sean. What do you think?
Mm. I mean, obviously, like my knee-jerk reaction is to give it to young Sean, but
Mhm.
I like your take better if you want to elaborate.
Because I think because if he hadn't had the affair,
Mm-hmm.
this situation would never have happened. Because
Mm-hmm.
the Anne H character, Clara, wouldn't have had those letters.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Did I forget? Did the movie say how he died?
He just seems to die.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever mention that. It
Okay.
seems like he had maybe I'm just completely pulling this out of my ass, but because
Yeah.
he was jogging and like fell over and died,
Right.
so maybe he had some sort of heart defect.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that makes more sense as, what we would define as the guy because he really sets the events into motion.
Hmm. And is manipulating Anna even from beyond. You know, he's trapped her in a way. She's
Right.
trapped by her love for him that
Yes,
is a love for someone who is not who she thought he was.
exactly. And so, okay, so this was another sort of confusion on my part of the movie. Was the apartment, does she live in that old apartment building? And was it hers with Sean?
I believe so. I believe
Okay,
that is the apartment that they shared.
okay, okay. So again, like even just by location, he's
Mhm.
brought her to this place.
Right. And it
Yeah.
is that very speaking of that apartment is our house. It's a
Yes.
very, as you said, this Renaissance like French palace.
Yes.
And it is very Rosemary's Baby.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's a real building. I don't know if the interior was a set or real or not, but the building
Right.
is real and it's 1136 Fifth Avenue and it
Ooh.
overlooks Central Park. So it's very swanky.
I was gonna say I knew it was expensive because I could tell it was New York, but there were trees around it, which means big
Mhm.
money in New York.
It's like one of the most expensive apartments, I feel like, in the city. Like, I'm not quite sure what she does, but
Yeah,
or what
I know.
he
I don't
did.
Right. I don't think they ever none of these people work except for the piano teacher. He's the only one.
That's true, and that's why he has to leave his poor kid behind because 'cause he's gotta work.
Yes. Yeah, he's gotta work. Yeah, I don't remember there being any jobs mentioned.
The class dynamics are interesting too.
Yes.
And so our haunt for the first time is reincarnation, which
Yes.
in a way to me is like the cousin of the doppelganger. We talked about the doppelganger before,
Mm,
and I feel like
yeah.
they're like maybe second cousins or something, but
Yeah.
there's a relation there where the personality is the same, even if the physical appearance is different. Whereas the
Right.
doppelganger is the physical appearance is the same, but the personality is different.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I think it's I mean, we've never talked about a movie with reincarnation, and I think it would be hard for us to find another movie that deals with it, which is also, something that makes this movie super unique. Um, but it's interesting because you sort of, according to Reddit, people are divided over it, but, I am of the assumption that he is not, um, actually spiritually reincarnated.
Mhm.
So it's this mixture of reincarnation, but also just, like, the pure influence a dead person can have on someone,
Mhm.
um, and, this is a kind of a cop out, haunt, but, like, grief, is definitely
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, that's, like, kind of a duh answer, like, because like we said, everyone is sad in this movie. Everyone is sad and dealing with something, um but yeah, I mean, it because what I thought you were gonna say when you said, like, this is sort of an interesting, because I kind of saw it as this is the first time one of the first ti I think the only time we've ever had it where the guy and the haunt are kind of the same. The guy is haunting
You're
in a way.
right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, the memory of Sean being deceitful, his
Mhm.
influence, like, because to Sean, the little boy, Sean, the adult, is just a husk because he's only reading the letters she's written to him. So
Yeah.
he's, like, stepping into this husk of a person.
Mhm. That's good.
That's my take on it.
No, I love that. It's making me
Yeah.
sad again.
I
This
know,
movie makes
right?
me so sad. The
Sad to be.
and the heartbreak of him, because the way he reveals it to her when he says, "I'm not Sean because I love you."
Yes.
And then the confusion that she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And, like, just all of it, the confusion and the grief
Yes.
is so palpable in this movie.
Yeah. I'm honestly so surprised that we were able to find any moments to laugh when doing this podcast. Because I was gonna make the joke at the top, like, if anyone follows our social media, I haven't had a voice, which is why we haven't been posting, and so even now, it's kind of a little scratchy and rough, but I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna have that much to say about this movie because it did leave me speechless in a lot of ways. It left me very introspective. There were a lot of I think more
Yeah.
than almost any movie we've watched for this podcast. There were so many things that I just kept thinking about after turning it off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would think about it, and then I would, like, cry again, and, like and then I would just part of the reason another reason I thought about him saying he kicked my chair is because even though it's so devastating, it's so funny, and I needed something to laugh about.
Right, it's like you're almost I think in any other movie, it would be, like, almost a disgusting scene. You'd be like, "Oh my god, this grown man beating up a child," but you're just, like, so relieved to have any moment of brevity that it becomes this, like, outrageous scene.
And that's another thing I think that is just genius about this movie, the way it juggles these
Mhm.
things. And like you said at the beginning, you have to see it to understand it. on
Yes.
paper, it seems like a completely different movie, but the way the way Glazer understands and balances the tone of this is perfect. It's serious without taking itself seriously, and
Yes.
it's introspective without being up its own ass. It's just
Yes.
really, really well done.
That is a really beautiful way of putting it.
And not being up its own ass.
Not being up its own
That
ass,
put that
absolutely.
put that on. I want Nicole Kidman's close-up face, her dewy face, and it says birth, quote, not up its own ass. That's So Gothic podcast. Because because it is a crime. This movie has never been released on Blu-ray.
Stop it, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. They need to
Wow.
get us doing the commentary for it. Like if
Yes.
they, because
Yes.
they'll never get Nicole Kidman. Let's face it. They'll
Yeah.
never get Jonathan Glazer. He comes out of whatever hole in the ground he lives in every 10 years to make a movie.
Yes.
And so we can be like those two guys on the Frankenstein Blu-ray, just the two idiots
Perfect.
talking about the movie.
The
That's what
two
we were
people.
made to do.
Seriously? Oh my God, that would be so excited. Maybe we can just do our own bootleg. We haven't even
Uh,
gotten into I mean, we touched on a couple, but there's a couple of good bonus gothics. There's the romantic rival, which you already brought up. Obviously, there's the Panano.
mhm.
Um, and I feel like I'm missing one. What are our bonus gothics?
Oh
Um,
goodness, there's a rocking chair.
yep.
There's candles, which we don't have, as
Cat.
we've established. A
Yeah.
cat,
A cat. I don't think there is a cat. So maybe it's just those two good ones, but they're good.
doors, doors.
Doors. There are a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an apartment building. I feel like it comes with the territory.
Their apartment that was weirdly open, and they never
Yeah.
lock their doors because they just come into the bathroom with
Right.
each other.
Yes. I mean, they're
So
rich enough. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I, so I would like to know if you're all set saying it, what do you think this movie is?
Yeah. So
Because I think you're more passionate about it.
to recap, we've got our girl Anna, our guy,
Yes.
adult Sean,
Uh-huh.
house, beautiful apartment overlooking Central Park, haunt reincarnation. We have two romantic rivals, Joseph and Clara,
Yes.
and a Panano. So we normally decide if it's so gothic, goth-ish, or no gothic.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say goth-ish.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of wanted to leave it to you because I wasn't sure if you were fully ready to commit to Gothic, but I probably would have put it in
Mhm.
Gothish as well.
And I'm not we always get into this because I'm not sure why it doesn't have those
Mhm.
gothic vibes. And I think maybe because it's so realistic and so
Yes.
understated, whereas the
Yes.
gothic is tormented and
Right.
melodramatic.
Yes. I think that this movie is almost too sad to be Gothic, which is like probably goes against a lot of people's opinions of Gothic, but like
Hmm.
I feel like this movie is too tragic to be Gothic because I feel like a lot of Gothic media has at least one sort of glimmer of hope or like one person who sort of comes out of it with a better perspective or, something. I feel like this movie is just so fucking sad. Like, I wouldn't want to be any of these characters. Like, I cannot imagine that their lives are that much happier after the movie ends.
I think for I think they're all worse
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
because I think Anna realizes that Sean didn't love her,
Yes.
and and Joseph realizes that Anna doesn't love him, but he's going to marry her
Right.
anyway. And
Exactly.
then I think another really sad one of the most ironic things of a movie that's just brimming with irony is one of the saddest things is that you never see Sean smile until the end. But there's something so sad about seeing him smile because
Right.
he doesn't know who he is anymore. And
Yeah.
he's the smile is fake, whereas him believing he was someone else was real. Like even though it wasn't real, it was real to
Yes.
him. I don't
Right.
know. I just the last scene of him smiling just also is a stab in the heart to
Yeah.
me.
It's like he's like it's hard because it's like I want to say like I can relate. I think a lot of people can relate to the feeling of thinking you have something figured out and then
Mm,
having it yanked away from you like so suddenly, like
mhm,
thinking you have this aspect of your personality, and it can be something as simple as like, like that you really my mind like goes to like you want to be a major in college, and
mhm,
then you realize like, oh, that sucks. I can't do that. Can you imagine like thinking that about your personality and who you are as a human being and
mhm.
feeling so secure and sure of yourself, and then yeah, it's devastating.
Yeah.
And it's just a little boy.
Steamrolled over.
Yes.
And like you said, the Gothic films, usually the heroine gets out of her trapped situation at the end.
Right.
Maybe some people die here and there, but usually they
Yeah.
deserve it. But here, yeah, Anna's worse off. She's arguably more trapped because
Mhm.
now her grief is soured and she's married this loser.
Right. Yeah. Poor Joseph.
So yeah, Gothish, do we agree?
I agree.
Beautiful. Are there any other memorable scenes you wanted to discuss before
No, like I
we
said,
move
I was
on?
gonna if I was gonna bring up one, it was gonna be the him clobbering a child scene. So I think I'm good on my scenes.
That's the criminally underrated scene. The Nicole
It's
Kidman
wild.
close up rightly gets a lot of the
Yes,
acclaim, but
right.
honestly, that scene is the showstopper.
Yeah, it's intense and kind of
Hmm.
incredible. Yeah.
I have to call out one more Lauren Bacall line,
Yes. Please.
and it's at the end of the movie, and I think she says this to the little boy, but she says, "I never liked Sean." And
Oh,
that's her
good.
final line, her character's final line in the movie.
Oh, I love it. I need to rewatch this movie, I think, and pay more attention to Lauren Bacall. Because like I said at the top, one of the things that kind of um I struggled with this movie was keeping a lot of the characters straight and stuff. And so I was usually so focused on just trying to focus on Nicole Kidman that a lot of the side characters kind of fell to the wayside.
Mhm.
I need to rewatch and like just make it a Lauren Bacall viewing party because I don't think I gave her enough attention.
I think the movie deepens on rewatch. For me,
Yeah.
like I said, not only did I not really get some of the themes 20 years
Mhm.
ago, but also I was too busy trying to figure out why, what the mystery of
Right.
it, what's happening. And once you know, and yeah, then you once you know the end and you kind of know what's
Yeah.
happening, it just you can pick up on more stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely want to rewatch it. And if they release it on Blu-ray with our commentary, I'll be forced to.
Release it on Blu-ray.
Yes.
We'll sign a petition. It'll just be us, but we'll still sign it.
Perfect.
So awesome. Thank you for talking about birth with
Of
me,
course.
Amanda.
Thank you
What
for
else
having me watch it.
you Yeah, what else have you been enjoying?
So, as I previously stated, I've been pretty sick, so I haven't really had a lot of brain power to watch a lot of TV or movies or anything. So the one thing I have been doing is I have a video game recommendation this week. Um, and it is Power Wash Simulator. It is so good and satisfying, and I am thoroughly addicted. Like, I love that. I always joke with, the people in my life that I'm a gamer girl, but really it's I like Animal Crossing and Sims and organization games. Like I like games that are not super challenging and just sort of put my brain at ease. And Power Wash Simulator is that times a billion, but it has this really fun storyline kind of running through it. Um, I love being able to you can do co-op on it. So my best friend in Colorado, sometimes she'll just pop in and start cleaning with me, and
I love that.
we always joke, after work, you gotta clock in for your next shift. So I'll leave work and then I'll clock in to do some power washing. Um, It's like one of those games where, I started playing it as kind of a joke, and now it like genuinely has like changed my life in some ways because
Ah,
it's so calming. My favorite activity is just power washing and listening to an audiobook at the same time. It's
okay. Yep.
so good. It's helped with I get really bad anxiety when I get sick, because I have like health anxiety. So it helped a lot with that, being able to like turn my brain off while I've been sick. Um, I own them, but I haven't played them yet, but there are expansion packs. So I own a Back to the Future one. So you get to clean the DeLorean and Breck. So you get to clean his swamp and stuff. Um,
Wow.
yes, and all three, the game and the expansion packs, were actually a present from my brother for Christmas, and I kind of like put off playing it. But yeah, like I started playing it a couple weeks ago, and I cannot recommend it enough. It is so satisfying. And I play it on my laptop with a little keypad, a little touchpad. I think it would be 1,000 times better if I had like a whole setup with a mouse. Um, but I mean, it's just chef's kiss. I love it.
I'm so happy to hear that. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that you could play it without a virtual. I thought it was virtual reality. I thought it was VR only.
Yes. So what's funny is, so my brother has played it before. I don't think he is quite as addicted as I am. Um, but he said that like at one point he was playing it, and as he was playing it, he went, "Oh my God, I should buy a VR headset so I can, like live this game." And he said that when that thought crossed his head, he like pushed away from the computer and like turned it off and was like, "I need to calm down." You can play it with VR. I think that is very funny, and I would do it, but like I just think the concept of it is very funny because like go outside and power wash something, but power washers are expensive, much more expensive than the game. So I would love to play it in VR sometime, but you can absolutely just play it on a laptop. I don't think Oh, you can play it on the Switch. I do know that. My
Oh,
sister-in-law bought it after she heard me ranting and raving about it. Um, but I don't think it's available like the specific main Power Wash simulator. I was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and she said that her daughter would like it, but it's not available on like any iPad or anything like that. They have different
oh, okay.
versions, like,
Hmm.
knockoff games, but the actual Power Wash simulator is not. And it is a delight.
It is on PlayStation 5. I just looked it up.
Ooh.
And I had heard about this because I'm a big Final Fantasy VII fan,
Yes.
and there's a Final Fantasy expansion pack
Yes.
for Power Wash Simulator.
Not only is there the expansion pack, but I hesitate to even call that because it's just free. Yeah, it's called like a bonus game. So they have a couple. Um, that's the really nice thing about it too, is so I'm just going through the career mode right now. I could talk for hours about Power Wash Simulator, so I'll try to make this quick. I'm just going through the career mode right now, which is obviously like the main mode. But once I'm done with that, you can A, go back and like redo them. B, there's the expansion packs, but then there's also just like a ton of free extra content. So there's like seasonal levels that they release all the time. So there's a bunch of those. There's something called the Muck Files, and it's
Okay.
like kind of like a spoof on the X Files because there's this sort of strange storyline underlying the whole game because you get like text messages and you get assigned jobs. So there's like this very strange storyline sort of under the surface about like how it's a very strange town and like weird things are happening. Um and so there's like the Mutt Files, the Midgard, you can go and clean that. And that's free. There's a couple of different ones. And the expansion packs, the like extra DLC is not that expensive. The game itself isn't expensive and it goes on sale all the time. I think my brother probably ended up buying it for like $15 or something. And
I'm definitely gonna get this now that I know you can play it without a VR headset.
mm,
Next time it goes on sale in the PlayStation Store. There's a Lara Croft bonus pack
yes,
too.
yes, there's a lot of really, I feel like it's almost like It's so weird because I feel like online a lot of people know about it, but then like every person I've told like in my personal life is like, what the hell is that? I feel like it's almost a meme game, but it's like a meme game that's taken seriously. And so they have a lot of like actually good expansion packs and things.
I love this.
It's so good. It's so satisfying. I love it.
There was an essay that I don't remember who wrote it. I apologize, but they
Mm,
said that all video games are about cleaning,
mm,
and we've now reached a stage where there are literal video games about cleaning. But what
yes.
they mean is that even when you're doing a shooter, your goal is to kill all the enemies. Your goal is to wipe
Mm,
things out. Your goal is to restore order. Your goal is to, manage your inventory. Your goal in
yes.
Tetris is to put things in order. Every
Yeah.
video game is about cleaning and organizing. In some way. And now we've
Huh.
reached this level where we have games like this, games like unpacking, where you're
Yes.
unpacking
Yep.
things like that. We've reached a real meta level of gaming, and it's
That
fabulous.
is that is really funny. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a part of me that feels guilty. Um, like, as I've said 4 times now, I was playing it when I was really sick, so my room was becoming more and more messy and, things like that. So there's definitely like a little bit of a sense of guilt of playing this game while my real life is messy. But at the same time, like, I will never knock it because I would much rather be getting my serotonin and my feeling of accomplishment from that game than I would from scrolling through Instagram or something. So it also really helped with that. Like, again, being stuck in bed, I could have just wasted away and like let my brain rot scrolling through TikTok. But, not that Power Wash Simulator is necessarily enriching me, but it's still giving me that sense of accomplishment. It's so
It's
much fun.
active.
It's
Yeah.
active. It's so much fun. I love it. And it's the first game that I think I've pretty much ever played that has really stopped me from playing Sims for I just opened Sims the other day and I couldn't believe it on Steam. It was like last opened 2 weeks ago. I was like, that has never happened since I repurchased Sims like a couple of years ago. So this is the first game that's really putting giving Sims a run for its money.
The true power of Power Wash Simulator.
Exactly. You better watch out, Sims team. Better fix some of those bugs you have, because Power Wash Simulator's coming for you.
What
It's
would
good.
you do if you could like make a house in The Sims and then power wash it?
I'm like speechless right
Amanda's
now. I
dead.
would lose my mind because again, like I could talk about it for hours, so I have to be careful. But there are specific aspects that I love cleaning. Like I love cleaning fence posts because you just go like that straight up and down, and it's so satisfying. I love cleaning shingles, like so to be able to make a house with all of the aspects that I love cleaning pillars, I love cleaning stairs, like anything that's very like cubey and like
Mhm.
stacked is really satisfying because you can kind of just like do these straight lines and like go back
Mm.
and forth. It's so satisfying. So if I could make like my perfect house to clean, I would lose my mind.
I hope that happens
I
someday.
hope so too. I hope so too. You shouldn't have given me this hope.
Power Wash Simulator gives us hope for a better
That's true.
future.
That's true.
A power
So anyway,
wash life.
yes, Power Wash Life. So anyways, I will shut up about Power Wash Simulator. And what have you been enjoying?
I also have a bit of brain candy to share. Mine
Ooh.
is less active than yours. Mine is just a movie that you can put on your TV and let your mouth hang open and enjoy. But it's Carry On.
Oh, yes. I did watch it.
So Carry On is the new movie by Yolma Colette Serra, who did one of our favorite films, House of Wax,
Mhm.
and it stars Elton John, Taron Egerton as a TSA agent who gets wrapped up in a terrorist plot.
Mhm.
And it is one of the best action movies I've seen since 1994 when Speed came out,
Mm,
or Red Eye, which is the iconic. This has supplanted Red Eye as the iconic airport thriller in my
yeah.
mind. And it's just a thrill a minute. It's funny. It's it has one of the best action scenes I've ever seen in a movie where two people fight in a
Mhm.
moving vehicle.
Yes, it's incredible.
I wish this movie was in theaters, because if I saw this in theaters, I would have literally been hooting and I would have clapped at the end of it. That's how much I was enjoying it. But the plus to it debuting on Netflix is at the end of this badass car chase sequence, I immediately just hit rewind and I watched it again. I was like, this is the
Yeah.
greatest thing I've ever seen. It's so much fun. And Taron Egerton, Yoma Colette Sarah knows how good Taron Egerton looks when he's
Mm,
running, and just sets up all of these scenes for this bitch to run through the airport. And I
yes.
could just watch him run for hours. He just runs like nobody else.
He's so fucking fast. He just hauls ass.
It's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
and the movie is just so much fun. I
Mhm.
cannot stand Mr. Arrested Development. What's his name? Jason Bateman.
Yes.
And even him being in this movie didn't turn me off of it. I got the characters are stereotypical.
Mhm.
They're exactly what you expect. I still cried like happy tears at the end of this movie. Like, yes, oh my gosh. I would get so nervous when someone I was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna kill the girlfriend? Like, I
Yeah.
was just on the edge of my seat. I was clapping like this lunatic alone on my couch watching Carry On. I highly recommend it. It is just an adrenaline rush, and it's a confection. It's a sheer treat.
Yes. You know what that movie made me realize is that Bateman sounds exactly like Robert Downey Jr. Like, their voices are the exact like, I had to take a second because I knew it was Jason Bateman. I had to take a second to be like, "Is Robert Downey Jr. gonna make, like, a weird surprise cameo?" Because that's his voice. It's the
I
same
feel
thing.
like I feel like when you see Jason Bateman and you hear
Yeah.
his voice, it sounds different than when you don't see Jason Bateman and you hear his
Yes,
voice.
that's true. You think
Because
they, like
he's the like kind of hot fox in that Disney
yes.
movie, Zootopia, the
Right! Oh
furry
my
movie.
god. Yes.
And I would never have known it was him because he sounds like a hottie.
Yeah, and then, like, when you watch him in, like, Arrested Development, he sounds like a dork
Mhm.
because you're watching him. That's so funny.
Mhm.
What a weird guy. Yeah, I did really enjoy that movie. It was very fun. I actually to watch that movie, I hadn't realized that I still had a Netflix account, so I was like, "Oh, perfect." And then I went to go check, and my Netflix account was literally going to end that night. So I had to, like, sit down, and I physically could not pause the movie to be able to finish it before midnight, which is
What
like
tension.
no! So I was like it was, like, double tension for me. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. I vouch that I do think it's a very fun movie.
And it's just as Christmassy as Die Hard, so
Yes, you can
take
really
that for
watch it
what you
whenever.
will. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Well, oh,
no, 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 I'm good.
well, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ghosties, for listening to us talk about birth. You can follow us wherever quality podcasts are streamed. Please rate and review us. We thank everyone who's given us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And please share us with a friend. As you can see, we don't always talk about horror movies, but we do always talk about movies that are gothic, unlike Nosferatu, which we don't usually say what we're talking about next time, but that's what we're talking about next time,
Yeah,
Nosferatu. We've got our eyes on you.
we're coming for you.
Coming
We're
for you,
coming for you.
bitch. I got my
Bill,
steak. I got my steak. Look at my shit. I got my steak. I got my garlic. Actually, in that speech, he says, I got gold bullets, motherfucking vampires, man.
he's coming for you.
We are
What's
coming
his
for you. It's Alien.
Ah,
Aileen. He says
Aileen,
it, Aileen.
he's coming for you, Nosferatu.
Yes, we're taking him down. So until then, stay ghosty. Bye bye.
Bye.